This is a homage beat.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? This your man Rondell Jordan, also known as the Black Swan. Today, I've been working on a few projects. I'm doing a project called The Money Game, How to Win the Money Game, breaking down how currency works. And I'm doing all of this so that the next generation can build and learn based off of the information that me and my peers that's been in business and that's been striving to for financial freedom. You know, we don't think that everybody should start off, each generation should be starting over from scratch. So that if I can inform you that the best way of buying a car, for example, is, you know, saving up a little bit of cash, going down to the auction, right? You know, and going through the process, right? Buy you a car straight out, right? Save yourselves, you know, $10,000. But not only that, you save yourselves that money that you will be spending on a car payment every month will be reduced significantly, and then also your insurance for a car that you own is cheaper than a car that you're leasing. Okay. Same thing with the home. You know, if you are able to establish a business that can generate a little bit of income that you can save $20,000, $30,000, buy your house outright. Okay, and what that does is allow you the freedom to be able to take more risks because you own the house straight out now. Yes, you're going to have you know, rehabilitation costs and all of that things, but you can do those things at your pace. You determine your pace. You don't have a obligation at the end of every month of $1,000 more or less. Okay? And so it's a lot of freedom in that. So I'm breaking down how currency works and breaking down the money game in a way that you would play any game. Monopoly. The first thing you do, you need to read the rules. Dominoes. First thing you need to do, you need to establish the rules because everybody may play differently or whatnot. So when you're playing in a specific household or a specific environment, you need to go over the rules. You also, like I said, you need to know the environment you're playing in. You need to know your opponents. You need to know the objective of the game. Okay? And you also want to know some of the, you know, the skill of the game, the expertise of the game, the tricks of the game. Okay. So if we want to succeed in the game, the money game, the objective of the money game is what? The objective of the money game is financial freedom. Okay? To be free financially. Okay? And you know that you reach the point of financial freedom when you're no longer laboring for the money, okay? But the money is working for you, okay? So if you're not free, means that you are laboring, you're slaving, you're serving, you're employed, and you're trading time and labor or service or whatever you want to call it for money. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have to realize the ball game we're playing. There's more or less $75 trillion. That number is fluctuating all the time. 75 trillion. Only 8%, actually less than 8% of the money, currency that is being circulated throughout the world economy is made up of cash. 8%. 91.7% of the currency that is flowing throughout the world's economy is digital. Okay? Digital. So, you can decide with that information which environment do you want to play in. Do you want to play in the environment where about 8% of this currency is flowing? Or do you want to play in an environment where 91.7%? The environment in which 91.7% of the world's currency circulating is digital. So we want to play in a digital environment. Okay? We want to play in the environment where the bulk of the money is circulating. Okay? So once you decided that, okay, and you decided, you know clearly that financial freedom is the means that your money is working for you, rather you working and laboring for the money, okay? And with now the time that you are no longer working for the money, you are free to spend doing as you determine. That is what you want to spend most of your time focused on. You want to spend most of the time, your free time, focused on determining what it is that you want to do with the money, the currency, when you receive it. Okay? So this is the reason why we say that we want to open your mind to certain concepts of how to spend. Buy your car outright. That alleviate yourself of debt, which is anti-freedom. Debt is basically enslavement, voluntarily enslavement. So if you can make a decision that reduces your debt, get you out of debt, then you basically set yourself free. Okay? So in the society, which is debt-based society or credit-based society, right? It's a society based off of credit or debt, which means most people who are in credit or in debt are not free. They're slaves, volunteer slaves. Okay? And all of that can be biblically backed. Okay? In Genesis, okay, in the story of Joseph, okay, the last story in the book of Genesis, Joseph interpreted the Pharaoh's dream and predicted that there would be 7 years of prosperity, good times, right? And then 7 years of famine. Okay? And if you look at Genesis 47, and you go to the 13th, and you look at it, and he says, now there was no bread in all the land, and for the famine was very severe, so that the land of Egypt and all the land of Canaan languished because of the famine. Okay? And Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the grain which they bought. For Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. So when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came to Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in your presence? For the money has failed. And Joseph says, give your livestock, and I will give you bread for your livestock if the money is gone. So they brought their livestock to Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for the horses, the flocks, the cattle of the herd, and for the donkeys, lest he fed them with bread in exchange for all their livestock that year. Keep in mind, in verse 17, they use exchange twice. And twice is confirmation. Okay, it says right here. So in Genesis 41:31, it says, "So plenty will not be known in the land because of the famine following, for it will be very severe. And the dream was repeated to Pharaoh twice because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass." So it says Pharaoh twice. Things that's repeated twice. That's what it says. The dream was repeated twice to Pharaoh twice because the thing is established by God. So here in verse 17 of Genesis 47, you have the word exchanged mentioned twice. And not only that, the font is italic. Okay? So they changed the font in both exchange twice. They're actually making that word stand out. This is the reason why I say you have to read this Bible with a great detail. Look at the details in it. Okay? So when that year had ended, they came to him the next year and said to him, "We will not hide from my Lord that our money is gone. My Lord also has our herds of livestock." You got to also keep in mind that they're calling this Joseph Lord, my Lord. Okay? So you got to keep in mind the use of language. Because people will use the word, take the word Lord, and they will apply it at this highest level when that is not the intent of the story. They're saying that this man is of higher stature. This man outranks me. This man he's in control. Okay? So Joseph is Lord. Now there is nothing left in the sight of my Lord but our bodies and our lands. It's funny that they didn't go land first and then bodies, but bodies and our land. Verse 19, "Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants of Pharaoh." Now, Pharaoh, in this sense, represents government. Okay? The government of Egypt. It's not saying who. That would date it, and that is mentioned at the end. But up to this point, there's no mentioning of who the Pharaoh is. Because that isn't the point, the message that they're trying to deliver. They're delivering the message that Joseph is working on half of the government of Egypt, the Pharaoh of Egypt.
This is a
okay. Joseph is being the brother that was sold. Okay, so Jacob's son, Jacob, who is Israel. Okay, Jacob and Israel are used synonymously on purpose to establish Israel as the fruit of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And telling the story of Israel by telling the story, the parable of Joseph. So, what I'm saying to you is, Joseph is Israel in the next generation. Jacob in the next generation. And Israel, Joseph, is in Egypt. And he is considered Lord at this point. Okay? And he is operating as a separate entity on behalf of the government. Okay? So this is the reason why I say this is coded for central banking. This is the reason why I'm having this conversation, talking about money. How money is biblically ingrained in our society. Okay? And so we got to understand the field and what we're talking about, because this is telling us, it's going to tell us. Okay, so the people now, it says, there is nothing left in the sight of my Lord but our bodies and our lands.
This is a harmony.
So they're in a Great Depression. Okay? So why should we die before your eyes, both we and our lands? So he asked them to buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants of Pharaoh. Give us seed that we may live and not die, that the land may be desolate. Then Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh. Keep in mind, they didn't say, like they had put it before, verse 18, our bodies and our land. He just says he buys the land. But obviously the bodies came with the land, because it says he bought all the land for Egypt for Pharaoh, okay, for the government. For every man of the Egyptians sold his field, because the famine was severe upon them. So the land became Pharaoh's. So the land became the government's. And as for the people, he moved them into the cities, from one end of the borders of Egypt to the other end. So now these people began not living on the land, off the land. Not with livestock and cattle, produce. They went from being producers to city dwellers. Primarily consumers, servants and consumers. They go work for the Pharaoh, work for the government, right? And then they go home, they go work for the government, they come home, and it's, you see, the process. You see it every day. All right, so only the land of the priest he did not buy, for the priests had rations allotted to them by Pharaoh. And they ate their rations which Pharaoh gave them, therefore they did not sell their lands. So this is the reason why the priests, the church, don't pay taxes. Okay, and it'll go further into that. Okay, so then Joseph said to the people, indeed I have bought you and your land this day for Pharaoh. Look, here is seed for you, and you shall sow the land. So people sold the land for the government. Servitude. It's this new method of life after this intervention of Joseph as a result of his interpretation of the Pharaoh's dream. Okay? And it shall come to pass in the harvest that you shall give 1/5 to Pharaoh. So, and it shall come to pass in the harvest that you shall give 1/5 to Pharaoh. That's taxation. 4/5 shall be your own, as seed for the field and for your food, for those of your households, and as food for your little ones. So they said, you have saved our lives. Let us find favor in the sight of my Lord, and we will be Pharaoh's servant. And Joseph made it a law over the land of Egypt to this day. So Joseph made a law, a lawyer. He made it law, and it says over the land of Egypt to this day that Pharaoh government should have 1/5 except for the land of the priests only, which did not become Pharaoh's. So Israel dwelt in the land of Egypt, They're talking about Jacob in the country of Goshen, and they had possessions there and grew and multiplied exceedingly, which is the repetitive dilemma on the planet that we see boiling all the time and right now in Israel. And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years, so the length of Jacob's life was 147 years. I'm going to go ahead and stop that there. It's going to go more to Jacob and Jacob coming and blessing Joseph's son, which perpetuates the battle between brothers, which is a whole nother message, a whole nother thing. But what I'm getting here today is the basis of how money works, the environment in which we're working in, the environment in which we're living in, we're playing in. I want to go to Matthews, okay? And Matthews is going to give you an idea about a lot that is going on in this world. First thing it warns you in 24, okay, is there many false prophets will rise up and deceive many. Because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold. But he who endures to the end shall be saved. Okay, and become a witness to all the nations. But anyway, what I want to say is that there's a parable of the talents. Now, there's actually three parables here. I'm going to go through two of them because they have to do with money specifically. And so I want to, this is about money, this particular podcast. Understanding the environment that we're playing in. All right, understanding the objectives. Okay, understanding our opposition, right? And you want to learn, of course, the rules of the game. All right, so what I'm going to go into this one, this is most important, I believe, because this has the most to do with the nature of the kingdom, because it says, for the kingdom of heaven is like a man traveling to a far country, who called his own servants and delivered his goods to them. And to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, another 1, to each according to their own ability. And immediately he went on a journey. Pause. It says, a man traveling to a far country who called his own servants. So this man has servants. Deliver his goods to them. So he gave his goods to him. What were his goods? Okay. The goods were the talents. The talents belong to who? The man who has the servants. He's giving his servants these talents according to their own abilities. Okay? And then they went on a journey. So then he went, who had received the 5 talents with and traded with them and made another 5 talents. So he went and traded and he earned another 5 talents. Okay? So traded is another word for exchange. And likewise, he who had received 2 gained 2 more also. So both of them doubled their profits. But he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground and hid his Lord's money. Hid what? His Lord's money. So they're telling you right now, this man with servants who went off in a far place is considered Lord to these guys. Again, I said pay attention to the language. Lord to those servants, okay? But he who had received 1 went and dug in the ground and hid his Lord's money. After a long time, the Lord of those servants came and settled accounts with them. Again, Lord was used twice within a breath, basically. The Lord of those servants came. So if you have servants, you can consider yourself what? Lord. All right. Now, anyway, that's not the main point of this. The main point is that after a long time, the Lord of those servants came and settled accounts with them. So that means that the money that he gave them, did not belong to them. It was a debt. And now he's coming to settle those accounts. He comes to settle those debts. So those servants get that debt. You get it? Debt equals what? Servitude. Debt equals what? You have a Lord. Right? But he comes to settle his debt with them. They doubled the money. Okay? So he who had received 5 talents came and brought 5 other talents, saying, Lord, you delivered to me 5 talents. Look, I have gained 5 more talents besides them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Okay. Verse 22, he said, he also who had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, you delivered to me 2 talents. Look, I have gained 2 more talents beside them. His Lord said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord. Now, I think it's important to pause and establish the fact that they both doubled their money. Even though the money was not equal, they both got the equal blessing. Okay? Because they doubled their money. So it's about not who made the most, but what they did with the money that they had. And what made their Lord happy or joyful and gave them the invitation and also promotion. He said, I'm going to make you ruler, right? Was the fact that they both took their money and doubled it. Now, then he who had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew you to be a hard man. So this guy is a man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathered where you have not scattered seed. Now it says that the kingdom is like this man. In the beginning, it established. It's like a man that goes into a fireplace. So this man, a little bit more about the characteristics, not much characteristics of this man came out, other than the fact that he had servants and that he gave his servants talents based off of their abilities. Then he came back and he collected his, the accounts basically, a little while later. So now we have the other 2 that doubled their money and were blessed. They didn't say much about this guy. But this guy gives us a little information about his perspective. He knew him to be hard, reaping where you have not sown, and gathered where you have not scattered seed. And I think that a lot of people may look at the modern kingdom, the United States of America, it's invading other countries and taking, coalting, taking resources to, to feed the demand of the market or whatever, as some of these characteristics, these kingdoms. But anyway, let's move ahead. It says, you gather where you have not scattered seed, and I was afraid and went and hid your talent in the ground. Look, there you have what is yours. But his Lord answered and said to him, you wicked and lazy servant, you knew that I reap where I have not sown and gathered where I have not scattered seed. Therefore you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers, and at my coming I would have received back my own with interest. Okay? He said, you ought to have deposited my money with the bankers. Okay? And at my coming, I would have received back my own with interest. That's Matthew 25:27. Therefore, take the talents from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has more will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. What does that mean to you? That is the kingdom we're living in, where the tax breaks goes to the rich, and the tax burden is on those who have not, have less, struggling about. This is telling us the environment, okay, in which, so we should be, it says we ought to be what? Depositing the money with the bankers so that we can receive interest. This is telling us the environment in the kingdom. And it's telling you that everyone who has more will be given, and he will have abundance. That's what you want, right? But from him who does not have, even what he has will be taken. The rich become rich, the poor become poor. We don't want to be on the poor side. Verse 30, it says, and cast the unprofitable servant into the utter darkness. There will be reaping and gnashing of teeth. Okay. The last one is more about race and the dividing the nations. I don't think that's relevant to the money topic, so I'm going to leave that out. But it's I will be doing a podcast on that because the environment, is telling you the Son of Man comes in his glory, and all the holy angels with him who are considered angels. And then he will sit on the throne of his glory, and all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another as the shepherd divides the sheep from the goats. And he will set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then the king will say to those on the right hand, come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundations of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food, and I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me, and I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then the righteous will answer. So keep in mind that now that they have established the fact that he put these people on the right hand, now from that point they're calling them righteous. Okay? But I'm not going to go deep into that right now. I want to stick to how currency works, the rules of the game. Okay? So I'm going to ahead and conclude this here. But in conclusion, I just want to say, before you can win in any game, you have to clearly understand the objective of the game, the rules of the game, the environment the game is played in. And lastly, but never the least, you must understand your opposition. Okay? So what we did today, we defined the money game. The objective of the money game is ultimately achieving financial freedom. And you do this by developing systems that produce multiple streams of passive income for you to live on. We have a system in which allows you to practice, so to master the art of exchange, so that you can double your money, triple and quadruple your money. Then practice the first principle, which is paying yourself. Okay? So that you can accumulate the money to do the things in which you were setting out to do. You determine that you want to do. What we'll be helping you to do is get in the mode where you do determine what it is that you want to do. You will spend a lot of your lifetime planning, researching, studying, and executing those plans. All right? But we have to establish an economy for you. And every man, woman, and child should have their own economy. All right? All right? Because you want to get to the point where you are free to spend your lifetime as you determine. And you are able to spend your lifetime because you're no longer spending your lifetime laboring for money. Your money is laboring for you. It's working itself. It's accumulating. It's generating more money for you. See what I'm saying? And so the man in the parable in which the kingdom is likened to, he had servants, right? Because he gave them what? He gave them money. And he told them to go out, and you seem to be able. You seem to be very talented. So he gave them, hey, look, you seem to be very, very talented. I'm gonna give you 5 talents. You got potential. I see the potential. I'm gonna give you 2 and see what you do with it. I don't know about you, man. I don't know. I'm gonna give you 1 and see what you do with it. Okay? So you want to think from that perspective.
This is a harmonious beat.
You want to loan money out, right? As you loan people money out, that makes you what? That exalts your status. In this case, to Lord. Because now you have servants. If you have no servants, it means you're not distributing money out. Okay? So, get back to me on your comments on this discussion. I'm interested in hearing what you think. And stay tuned for the next podcast that I'll be producing that talks more about freedom and enlightenment, and uses the Bible to establish the point that enlightenment is not a sin. It says, I wasn't able to find, if you can find it, where it's stated that Adam and Eve sinned. You see what I'm saying? But it does state that their eyes were open once they consumed the fruit, and we will debate that in the next podcast of becoming an illuminated person, a person who's conscious, aware, and again knows the environment in which we're operating in. Stay tuned to that, and let me know what you think about this. God bless, and good luck. Peace.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rondell Jordan. I just wanted to make a quick note. If you were interested in assisting us in our money game ministry, basically we're looking to educate the next generations on financial management, and also teaching them the art of exchange. What I'm doing is creating digital content that is going to be valuable. Hopefully it gives people a different perspective of finance, and also a different perspective of life, and some interpretations of the Bible, because the Bible teaches us many different things, and we can use it to empower ourselves financially. So there's 3 ways you can do it. You can like or share our content so that you can continue to get the message out, or you can also become a counselor yourself and this is actually taking part in our program, taking part in our system. And one of our counselors will mentor you through the setup process and get you involved and be available to you on a frequent basis to answer any questions you may have. Another way you can support is through becoming a Patreon. Look for us on patreon.com. Our link is below, and you can support our ministry through small contributions, $3, $5 or more, depending on what you would like to do. And we offer you additional benefits, insider benefits, special benefits for helping support the program in that way. So thank you for tuning in. Once again, God bless you, and take care until next time. Peace.